power, whether red or blue. I could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
Hi, my name is Emma. I'm going to be born on March 1st, 2022, the very same day that Texans choose a new lieutenant governor in the Republican primary. The question is, what kind of country will I grow up in? Will it be a Texas that is strong, free, independent and full of opportunity? Will it be a Texas where the people set our own direction, create policies that work for us? Imagine being able to create a government that is responsible to our needs, meets our challenges, and is the size we want. Or will the country I grow up in be ruled by 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats, far off in Washington, D.C., and a disconnected political class in Austin, dictating how we live our lives, leaving our border unsecured, and taxing us out of our homes? Will Will it be a Texas filled with unlimited potential and opportunity, where I will be free to choose my direction in life without the government standing in my way? Or will I be under the thumb of oppressive federal and state regulations, dictating my every move, and political cronies choosing winners and losers? What kind of financial stability will the country I grow up in have? Will the money I earn be taken by the federal government and used for wasteful programs in places like California and New York? Or will my money stay in Texas, and be used to make Texas a better place? We're already the 10th largest economy in the world. Can you imagine what an independent Texas economy would be like without the costly federal regulations we're constantly having to deal with? Will the country I grow up in allow me to reach my full potential? Let me have some say in what my life will be like? What freedoms I have, and allow my voice to be heard? Imagine how people would feel about voting, if they actually could make a difference, and be involved in their own government. Imagine government officials really being accountable to the voters. Will I grow up in a Texas, where decisions about our future are made by the people who care most about Texas, the people who live here?
On March the 1st, every single one of us will be asked to make a choice between two futures. It's a choice based on who you trust to make Texas a better place today and for future generations. An unresponsive political establishment, or candidates like me who will put Texas and Texans first. A vote for Dan Patrick means we stay with the present system, firmly under the thumb of the repeated failures of a federal government heading rapidly in the wrong direction. A system that leaves our border wide open, taxes you out of your home, forces unconstitutional mandates on our people, and removes your choices in how your children are educated. A vote for me as your next Lieutenant Governor means we begin the process of choosing a new direction for Texas. It means that we can make the decisions that are right for us, for all of our citizens, and for children like Emma.
When March 1st arrives and I become the newest Texan, please vote for Daniel Miller. For yourself. For Texas. And for future generations of Texans like me. The country you choose for me to grow up in now, will make a big difference in my future. Please choose wisely.
Well, hello, fellow Texians. It's me, Daniel Miller, and it is time for our weekly late night coffee talk. And, it's what I do every week to decompress, if you haven't figured that out yet. And I will say that there's a lot of decompressing that needs to be done, especially as of late, as you might imagine, as we are midway through the first week of early voting. And it has been a bit of a whirlwind. Not going to lie, it's been pretty crazy. So tonight, it's really going to be about you. We're just going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I've got a few things I can, I'll get off my chest. Some things we can talk about happened over the last week. Some things coming up you need to know about. But really, tonight is going to be all about you. All about answering your questions. Your comments are going to drive so much of what we do tonight. So I have my cup of coffee and coffee courtesy. See, this is what happens of Chris Milton, who was so kind to bring me a supply drop for coffee talk at the True Texas Project Lieutenant Governor's Forum. And we'll talk about that. That was something. Anyway, this is Island Coffee Roasters, and look, this is how much thought. This is the Liberation Blend. That's That's what we're doing. We're liberating our Texas, right? Well, anyway, before we get started and I begin to consume copious amounts of coffee, let's do a little housekeeping. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And of course, hit the notification bell and make absolutely sure you get notified every time new videos are posted. And that goes for whether you're watching on the TNM's YouTube channel or on my personal YouTube channel. If you're on the TNM's personal YouTube channel, Super Chat is active. So if you'd like to make a contribution to the cause of Texas independence, feel free to drop some coin over there. And there's a new feature on our platform that's going to allow us to interact a little bit better with super chats and try to sort through everything that's going on in chat, which, again, if you're watching on Facebook, like it, share it, comment, like, share, comment, because that helps us defeat the algorithm, helps more of you see what we're doing. And, if you're watching on my page or the TNM's Facebook page, you can hit a button and be notified anytime we go live. So be sure you do that. And, of course, all the other platforms, you know what to do. On Twitter, retweet. On Twitch, I don't know. What do they call it? Twitch? Get twitchy? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just watch it. I watch Twitch to see people play games. Okay, so I don't know. But of course, on Rumble, you know what to do over there. And on our Roku channel, just sit back on your couch and enjoy yours truly in full HD on your big TV. All right, so let's get down to it. Wow, what an interesting week we have had. Now, let me go ahead and talk about the aforementioned True Texas Project Lieutenant Governor's Forum. Many of you may have heard that I took a bit of a nasty spill. At the Lieutenant Governor's Forum, they had stools up at the front, and the stools had wheels. And one of the questions, we would stand up and answer the questions. And when I was answering one of the questions, I stepped backwards, my boot hit the chair, and it rolled. And when I went to go sit down, much like Dan Patrick, when I needed the chair the most, it was nowhere to be found. And I took a full-on fall from, not off a stage, but, from a standing position all the way to my posterior and my back. So it's been interesting. But you know what they say, sometimes you got to play hurt. But thanks for everyone who reached out and checked on me. No, I didn't pass out. It was not some kind of health thing. It was just a stool with wheels. A stool with wheels. Of all the things. So, hey, many thanks to the folks that were there that kind of scooped me back up, put me back on my feet. I completed the whole thing, answered all the questions, and really had a good time. Although I must admit that the ride on the way back from Irving was a little uncomfortable, and it's been a little uncomfortable ever since. But my back will line itself out, right? It'll either get better or it won't, right? So that's how it works. So anyway, look, it's been a whirlwind. We did the True Texas Project. We made in that last time period, we made a trip down to Harlingen, down to the Rio Grande Valley, down there as guests of the Cameron County Republican Party and Cameron County Conservatives, who held a candidate forum, and it was stellar. I mean, I had a wonderful time down there in Harlingen and met a phenomenal group of people. And I got to tell you, it never hurts to walk into a room full of people that made a drive because they wanted to talk. They wanted to hear some hope about the future of Texas. And more importantly, they wanted to learn more about TEXIT. I spent more time after the forum answering TEXIT questions than I did anything about securing the border or anything else. I mean, we talked about those things, but people wanted to know about TEXIT. And, I can do that because I did that before I started running for lieutenant governor. I've been doing it ever since I've been running for lieutenant governor. And should we be blessed enough with your votes to win, we'll be talking about it a lot more because we're going to get a vote on it. That's the way it works. So anyway, it's been back here, made a stop at Golden Triangle Republican Women here in Beaumont, right in my backyard. And then last night, we had a candidate forum, a virtual candidate forum for the TNM. It was very interesting. We had a great time, and I could see that some of you have already given your feedback. That was nice. There you go, Bad Brad. See, now we can do cool things because they fixed their interface. But yes, Bad Brad says great candidate presentation last night, and I agree. I mean, our Take Texas Back candidates are phenomenal individuals that all have a true passion and love for Texas, and we're gonna just go in there and do our thing, right? We're going to do our thing. Look, I got to tell you, early voting started on Monday, and it has been, I've gotten messages like this. And, I just, Thomas, thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. Regina, thank you. Um, it's just been humbling. Um, I'm just honored. I'm just honored. So many of you have gone out of your way to help out, to do the things that we're not able to do as a campaign because we don't have $25 million like Dan Patrick, like Lee. Lee did an in-kind contribution of mailers and sent mailers out to voters in 4 counties today. Texans for True Conservatives did, we signed their pledge. They endorsed us. That's our good friend over there, Dave Roberts, which he put me through the vetting process. he vetted me, which, I've known Dave for years, but he vetted me, right, before I could get the endorsement. And they sent a mailer out to, I think, 66,000, just a little under 70,000 households for us. And then, of course, our friends over at Conservative Republicans of Texas, as part of their recommended candidates and their endorsement, they sent a mailer out to a little over 900,000 Republican primary voters. And all of that is just greatly appreciated. I can't tell you. And for all of you out there that are putting out what few signs we have left at the polling locations, or out there working and handing out push cards and talking to voters, or going to candidate forums that I can't make it to, or just any event. Stacy, I can't thank you enough, and Lee, and I think Dan and Daphne are at a candidate event tonight, and Claver, and the Drury's who have been organizing block walks, and Paul Roby, who has stepped up to be our field director and is just a logistical wizard. I mean, it's just amazing. And then Chris Powell, who was so kind as to pick me up in Schulenburg the other night and deliver me back to my wife, who I was being relayed. It was quite fun. But it's humbling, and I can't thank you guys enough. And there'll be a lot of time for that, and we're going to have some time to celebrate. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But let's somebody. Okay, let's get to our first question of the night. Bad Brad says, "How can we send you coffee, Daniel?" The address on the website. It's just too long to read out here. But if you'd like to send coffee, I always accept coffee. Always. I mean, it's called a late night coffee talk. And by the way, many of you that made contributions last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, you got a book and a TEXIT Now mug. Those are all out the door. So you should be getting them in the mail right now. But Bad Brad, check it out. Just go to the website. Go to danielomiller.com. Let me find it for you. Man, you would think that I would have it here. But if you go to danielomiller.com, you will find the address. It's on the contact page and at the bottom of every page. All right. So let's do this. Thomas, thank you very much. Brad, thank you for the candidate person. And I think I don't want to skim over that, right? The candidate presentation was fantastic. We had I think we did about an hour and a half, about an hour 45 of I think, golly, let's see, I guess about an hour and 45 minutes, right? We did governor, we did lieutenant governor, we did ag commissioner, we did land commissioner, we did railroad commission, and we did several, some of the legislative candidates, state senate, state representative, and they're all there. The replay is on the YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. All right. By the way, did I mention that I did not? This is what's happened. I am so running. I'm not scattered, but I'm just kind of pinging from one thing to the other because there's so many things to grab the attention, right? So I did not mention that everything that you're putting in comments on the Facebook pages and on YouTube, it's all aggregating. And Kara is on the other end on production, and she's making sure that they get funneled. And I see the questions. So if you have questions for me or comments, anything of note, be sure to drop them over there and engage in banter with your fellow Texians. Right? Engage in some banter. I will tell you, I was asked, and no one asked this tonight, but I was asked if elected lieutenant governor, if I would keep up what I do, which is having these live Q&A sessions with people on live stream, right? And the answer is absolutely yes. I mean, I don't know of any other kind of state level candidate that does this sort of thing, but I don't know why more of them don't do that, other than the fact they don't want criticism. And look, criticism happens. Not everyone is going to agree with everything that an elected official does. I certainly don't, and I don't expect everyone to agree with everything that I do. But at least having some type of mechanism for this sort of dialogue where we can communicate back and forth and not just some weird scripted telephone town hall. I have every intention of continuing to do this. So your chats aggregate over here. Kara takes care of them. So be sure to chat, drop your questions in, and I will do my dead level best to get to them. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Super cool. Let's take some questions, some comments. Hey, here we go. Here's David. David says, by the way, you got my vote on the 14th, first day of early voting. Now cannot vote, Ryan. Well, thank you. Thank you for your vote, David. I really do appreciate it. And, I'm seeing a lot of these messages in here. Polo Trejo, today I voted for Daniel Miller. Thank you so very much. Again, I'm quite humbled. There is apparently some pretty big questions in here. So let's take this one. Okay, this is a TEXIT question, and I am perfectly capable. And then let's talk about what's going to happen next week, because I've got some big news I got some big things to announce. So let me do that. Let me do that after this question. El Scorpio Perfecto says, okay, here we go. I'll see if I can put it up here. Does the TNM have a protocol when a UDI, that is a unilateral declaration of independence, would be needed, and what scenarios would Texas need a UDI? Now, this is going to get kind of into some really kind of deep talk about the TEXIT issue and the mechanism to do it. And I will tell you that there are people out there who advocate for a unilateral declaration of independence as the mechanism to do this. Now, the question, and I think that sort of the where so many of those the pro UDI people drop the ball is they don't believe that we need a vote ahead of a UDI, right? They believe that a convention, excuse me, got to reposition. Remember the back thing I said earlier? Yeah, that's still happening. The challenge with a UDI and the way that it is typically advocated, and this is not just related to Texas independence, it's related to, we've seen this discussion around the world multiple times, and frankly, the most recent UDI happened with Kosovo, right? And it made some major shockwaves, and it created a problem with Kosovo's independence being recognized and widely accepted because ultimately this UDI was not viewed as an act of the people, but an act of a legislative body. Now, granted, there was indeed a vote, but that vote came on the heels, excuse me, but that vote came on the heels of military action, right? So you had military action, you had vote, and while the vote should have sufficed, they wound up just issuing a unilateral declaration of independence anyway. So the way that it's typically couched is that a unilateral declaration of independence is sufficient in lieu of a referendum of the people. Okay, now it's one of the things that we talk about a lot is we refer back to the Texas Constitution. And I'll flash it up there on the screen, right? Article 1, Section 2, the thing that your current lieutenant governor can't quote, but I can. This says that all political power is inherent in the people. Okay. And they're at the tail end. They have at all times the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think expedient. Now, the key phrase here is the people. And because it is an inalienable right of the people, it is a right held by the people together to make this decision. So the question of law comes down to, can the people delegate that right to a legislative body, whether it be a convention or a legislature, a Congress, whatever it is? And ultimately, the real answer is that while it probably could be delegated, it's probably not the best thing that you want to do because you want an act of pure sovereignty. Anytime it's delegated to a legislative body, there will always be a question as to whether or not the right of the people to self-determination has been respected. So why deal with that when you can literally just put it right there in the hands of the people? Let the people decide. Don't delegate the right out. Reserve it to the people. Let the people exercise their right of establishing their political will. And then you send the delegated representatives off to carry out the will of the people. So, it's sort of a process thing. And if you firmly believe in Article 1, Section 2, and you believe that that is an inalienable right of the people, then let the people make the decision. Don't go through some weird convoluted route to get there. Good question. And and I think it's a conversation that bears having, right? But this is why you see, so over the last 70 plus 80 years, more independent nation states going the referendum route rather than the UDI route. Something to think about. Okay. So let me do this because apparently I am hearing that we're getting a little weirdness on the video tonight. I don't know what's going on. Strange. Okay, so let's take another question. I tell you what, no, let's do this. Guys, get your questions in on the chat. Let's stack some more of these up real quick before I get to these because I don't want to close out the first 30 minutes of this without talking about this. Here's what is happening over the next week or so, and really 2 weeks. And this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, obviously, tomorrow night I'll be back on the road. I will be at the Lake Conroe Area Republican Women Candidate Forum. and you guys can see this here. Boom, I'm bringing it up for you. It's going to be at the Walden Yacht Club there on Melville Drive in Montgomery, and it'll be from 6 to 8:30. So come on out if you were in the Montgomery area and show your support. Of course, all of these are going to be on the website at danielomiller.com/events. Then going to be headed off from there to Yoakum next night with Yoakum area or the Yoakum Republican Women, where we're going to be, again, another candidate forum. I'm going to be speaking there. Got a couple of other campaign events. Have one going on in Waxahachie and another one in Montgomery County on the 21st. But here's another fun one for you. On the 21st, okay, listen up, Northeast Texas. Listen up, Northeast Texas. I'm going to be coming up there for actually 2 events. Now, one is a private event. Okay, so I can't give you the invitations, but if you know, right? It's very limited capacity. But if you know some of the people up in the Tyler area, you probably, depending on size, space limitations, may get an invitation to that. But here's the other one, up in Avenger, Texas, right? The home of the inimitable former state representative David Simpson. I'm going to be at a meet and greet fundraiser at 5D Cattle Company, which is one of the best steakhouses in Texas. Darlene out there is just phenomenal, and 5D is just a gem in the middle of the piney woods of East Texas. But you're going to want to check that out, right? So if you're in Avenger or anywhere up in that Northeast Texas area, I get to come home. I get to be back behind the pine curtain again. So be sure to come on out and invite people, right? It's going to be, I think it's going to be a phenomenal event. We're going to be out there. There's going to be hors d'oeuvres. There's going to be a cocktail hour. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So be sure to come on out and, come on, Northeast Texas, show the hometown boy some love. Then, as we get down through, apps and a cash bar, we're providing appetizers and there will be a cash bar. So come on out. It'll be fun. We're going to be, the campaign's going to be an event in Webster, but Abilene, hello, Abilene. You guys have been asking for it, out in that area. Going to be out in Abilene. This will be the first time that we're back in Abilene since the TEXIT tour that we did at the beginning of last year. Going to be there for a long candidate debate. So be sure to come on out there. It's going to be hosted by the Taylor County Republican Party there at the Abilene Public Library on the 22nd from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And then let's just get down to it, right? You can see all these events, but let's get down to the big show because we have been asked about this so much, okay? Doggone it, almost forgot. Be back in Corpus on the 24th, then the 25th down near the Goliad Battleground in Fannin. Chris Powell has organized, along with some locals, the one thing, it's going to be one heck of a meet and greet, a fundraising event. And you can find that on the calendar there on the 25th. We'll have an email going out, details, and you're all invited, regardless of where you live or anything else. If you live in the area, come on out. It's going to be a great time. There's going to be some barbecue involved, but you got to RSVP, so make sure you do that, okay? But this is the thing everybody's been asking about. We are having a watch party. It's happening. And the watch party, before you send hate mail about why isn't it more centrally located, I will explain, right? So understand, we're talking about March 1st. We're going to be at an appropriately named venue in Houston called Poor Behavior. I mean, you got to love it, right? I mean, we've been accused of being ill-behaved. But we're going to be at this venue. It's going to be a watch party that's open to any Take Texas Back candidates, and as many of you want to come in as possible. It's on Travis Street in Houston. I mean, get that. Travis Street in Houston, and it's called Poor Behavior. I mean, how much more appropriate could it be, right? So that's going to be March 1st from 7:30 to 10:30. come on out to the watch party. We're going to have fun. And hey, and it's 21 up establishment, right? So just bear that in mind. But be sure to look, this is where we're going to watch. We're going to relax. We're going to enjoy camaraderie. We're going to spend time together. And we're going to watch to see what happens, because by that time, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And hopefully, we've done everything that we can. We've left it on the table, and God has carried us the rest of the way across the finish line. Because granted, that's what it's going to take, right? But we're going to be there. Now, yes, it's in Houston. I get it. But the reason it's in Houston is, remember, this is March 1st. So what's March 2nd? It's Texas Independence Day, right? And on Texas Independence Day, the T&M is going to have its very own tent at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So any of you guys ever been out to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the T&M is going to have a big celebration for Texas Independence Day. Of course, that's going to be over at the NRG Center in Houston. And it's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be an absolute blast. And what is it? It's just a celebration of what we've accomplished over the last year, a celebration of Texas independence. We're going to have a private tent. It's going to be called the Blue Bonnet, and it's going to be at the Champion Wine Garden inside the main ground. So you'll need to purchase admission to get into the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. But you don't have to purchase a rodeo or concert ticket to access where we're going to be, right? So we need you to RSVP either here on our campaign page, or if you go to the TNM's website, tnm.me/events, and go there, find the event and RSVP. But we would really appreciate it if you do RSVP. We want to know, are you going to come hang with us? Are you going to come celebrate Texas independence with us? So it's going to be back to back, right? So we're going to be March 1st. We're going to be at Poor Behavior on Travis Street in Houston for a watch party to watch the election returns as they come in, and unwind from what has been an absolute pedal to the metal all the way to the finish line. And I feel pretty confident that we're going to wind up being in a runoff with Dan Patrick. But who knows? The only poll that matters is the one where the votes are counted at the end of March 1st, right? That's the only one that matters. So we do everything we can. We get the word out there, and hopefully it's enough to make it happen, right? So fun stuff. So that reminds me, as we get ready to spin, we're heading to the finish line, and we're having to burn cash left and right to reach voters. So if I did not encourage you to head over to dmcdonate.com, that is dmcdonate.com, and make a contribution to the campaign. If I did not encourage you to do that tonight, I'm pretty sure that the campaign team would come in here and steal my coffee and maybe hit me in the head with a coffee cup. I don't know. But that's what's got to happen. We still have not been able to raise enough to get on TV or the radio. So, man, we are relying heavily on digital, and those mailers that I mentioned earlier definitely help out. So that is what's happening. It's been phenomenal. Okay, let's get back to some questions. Hey, and a reminder, as we have just crossed over the 10 o'clock hour, if you have questions, drop them in chat, whether you're watching this on Facebook, on the Facebook pages, or on YouTube. Drop them in there. Kara will sort through them and sift through them, and they will make the cut, right? Like this one. Alex says, hi, Daniel. Hey, Daniel, my wife and I sent our ballots for you in on the 1st. So that's a mail-in ballot. I'm sharing with everyone I know. Let's go all the way to Austin so we can clean up the mess with your leadership. Blessings to you and your family. Alan, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your vote, for your support, and for reminding everyone that the absolute best way that we're going to be able to go out there and connect with voters is each of you reaching out and taking people to the polls and encouraging them to vote. Getting out the vote, that's what this is going to come down to. And if you can make sure, your fans, your coworkers, your neighbors, whoever it is, get out there and vote. I think, if every one of our folks did that thing and got 5 people or 10 people to go to the polls and cast a vote for us, we'd win it outright. Right. There would be no talk of a runoff. We just win it outright because we have that many people. So, let's all do our part to help out. Okay. And that gets down to the question that Brad just submitted, which is, if you make more than 50% of the votes, would there not be a runoff? No. If any candidate in the first round takes 50% plus one vote, not 51%, but 50% plus one, you only got to have one vote past 50%, and there's no runoff, right? Bottom line. So if no candidate receives a majority of the votes, then it goes to a runoff, and it will be the top 2. And so what we know from internal polls that have been leaked is that Dan Patrick is currently below 50%, but there's still a large number of undecideds. I mean, a lot of undecideds, far too many, in my estimation, for this time in the campaign. So it really is a matter of voter contact and ensuring that we get our name and our message to as many voters as possible. That's the way we win. Okay. So thank you for that question. Let's take a look at this one. Let's take this one. This is a good one because, oddly enough, at one of the first campaign stops during the Q&A, during this whole campaign, there was a long discussion about this very thing. And so here's what the question is. It says, in an independent Texas, what changes, if any, would you like to see made to the Texas Constitution? Additional rights for the individual, changing how government is structured, maybe a parliamentary system. Look, I will tell you this. The post-TEXIT questions, specifically related to the Constitution, are, I think, a legitimate conversation to have. Now, I would not predicate support of Texas independence on that because there's a path forward, right, utilizing and amending the existing Constitution. But I will confess, in all of my years of being out there and promoting the freedom and independence of Texas, never before, not until this campaign, have I heard so many people express so much concern about the current state of the Texas Constitution and the propensity of the elected class, the political class, to use and amend the Constitution to score political points at the expense of really long-term governance, right? And I think that one clear example of this was the last session, not this past one, but the session before, where they passed another constitutional prohibition on a state income tax. Now, state income tax was already prohibited in the Texas Constitution, and what they did was they said they got another constitutional amendment to prohibit a state income tax. Well, nobody likes state income tax, but we already had a constitutional prohibition on it. So what was the necessity other than the ability for the political class to go out there and raise money and try to say that they did something when, in effect, they really did not do a whole lot in that particular session? So, you've got these situations where the Texas Constitution is being utilized to score political points so that they can put things on mailers to make voters feel good about the half-butted job that these guys did in the legislative session. And so consequently, the Texas Constitution's unwieldy. And I can remember one time Don Huffines was at an event, and he talks about how he carries around a copy of the pocket Constitution with him. And somebody approached and said, hey, why don't we do a copy of the Texas Constitution as a pocket Constitution? And I said, how big is your pocket? How big is your pocket? I mean, have you ever seen the Texas Constitution? It has been amended and amended and amended. And so the challenge is, and it's been a challenge of mindset, right? The political class loves to use the Texas Constitution as a place for them to score some political points and raise money for the next election cycle, um, as opposed to taking care of those things and taking care of a lot of those things in statute. Now, I agree with a constitutional prohibition on a state income tax, much like I had proposed much like I had proposed a constitutional amendment outlawing and banning property taxes, right? Sometimes you got to put some things in there that say, okay, look, under no circumstances are we going to do these things. But beyond that, we have to remember that from the time of 1876 to about the 1960s, the legislature did virtually the same thing, right? Where they would use the Constitution, it was exactly the same thing, but not to this extent. But additionally, there were a lot of things in the Texas Constitution that were throwbacks to, that were sort of inherited from our time as a state of Mexico, right? And then there were some things that had to be carried over in the Republic of Texas Constitution. And those things just sort of drifted their way into the Constitution of 1876. Things like there was Spanish land laws and Spanish land grants and things of that nature. So in the 1960s, they did what was called the Deadwood Amendment. And effectively, what they did was they went through the Texas Constitution, they marked out any redundant or anachronistic language, they bundled it all together into one amendment called the Deadwood Amendment, and the people of Texas got to vote on that, and that stripped a lot of that stuff out. And it may be time post TEXIT to do that, and there's no better time to do that sort of thing, right? After Texans vote on the TEXIT issue and vote for Texas to become free and independent, part of that four-step process, number one, are constitutional changes, right? So there are certain things that will have to be done in our Constitution to make Texas line up more, to make it more like a governing document for a self-governing independent nation. And that is the time when you start looking at those things. And it can be, and I have said time and time again, those changes don't have to be complex. There doesn't have to be a ton of discussion about some of the changes that need to be made, like changing the names of the offices from governor to president, from lieutenant governor to vice president, from legislature to Congress, change the state of Texas to Republican. I mean, there's just very small things that need to be done. But those have to be done via constitutional amendment. And, you don't have to have a constitutional convention to do that. They can all be done via the amendment process. But I think it's also a good time for the people of Texas to start taking a long, hard look at the governing document, right? At the document that we have here in Texas. Now, Bill of Rights, it's off limits, right? Maybe we strengthen the sections in Article 1 dealing with the right to keep and bear arms and make it a bit stronger. That would be about it, because there is some language in there that I think people that are like myself, that are major proponents of the right to keep and bear arms, there's some language in there that unfortunately the bureaucrats and the political class have leaned on to restrict firearms ownership. I think that could be addressed. All right. So glad we can have that conversation, but I'm not kidding. I have seen more. I've heard more talk about that aspect of the Constitution and some of the unwieldy language and some of the things in there, more than anything else. And oddly enough, not from sort of pro-Texit T&M folks, but really kind of in these clubs that we go to where we have these, what you would consider mainstream kind of establishment Republican folks, and even independent voters, right, that are saying, what are we doing here? Excuse me. Yikes. That was a sneeze. I think that's literally the first time I've ever sneezed on camera. Wow. Allergy season already, huh? Mm. All right. Let's move right along because I've only got 15 more minutes. All right, let's take this one. Leah says, would love to see the detailed plan to eliminate property taxes that Deborah Medina proposed some years ago revisited. I agree. This has been kind of my entire message about property taxes, right? Because there are competing plans out there that some folks like one, some folks like the other, et cetera, right? And my entire thought on the property tax is simply this. Number one, property taxes are immoral. And you don't reform an immoral institution, you abolish an immoral institution. It is immoral to charge for the government to charge people rent for the continued enjoyment of their own private property. Okay, that's immoral. So it has to go. Okay. So once you have that squared away, the question becomes, what do you change? How do you get rid of it? What do you replace it with? Right? All those questions. Well, if we can agree that it needs to go away, then we also understand that to make that happen, functionally make it happen, number one is we have to give relief to property owners right now, which is why I have proposed an immediate moratorium on property tax foreclosures on homesteads. Stop kicking people out of their homes, right? And if people can't pay it, well, then what that means is that there is that much more motivation to figure out how to get rid of property taxes and replace that revenue with something. But I've also proposed that on the other end of that, we establish a constitutional amendment that I would love to get done in my first session as lieutenant governor, that we do a constitutional amendment that abolishes property tax by date certain. Now, what is that date? Well, I think it really depends on our discussions as a people about what we think we can reasonably do. I know that there are plans on the table, right? Like Deborah's plan. By the way, who Deborah Medina endorsed me for lieutenant governor, which I am very appreciative, Deborah, to have the support of a liberty warrior like yourself. But you have like Deborah's plan. You have the eliminate property tax plan by Russell Bennett, the team over there, that scrap taxes and replace them with a consumption tax. Some people call it a VAT, right? Not popular among some thinking for some people, but I will say that stripping out 60 plus taxes and replacing it with a single tax has some appeal to it. And frankly, that plan was also a form of that plan was also introduced by State Representative James White, who, as you guys know, has been a huge fan of the TNM, a great friend to us legislatively throughout the years. But so that's one. And then you have the Texas Public Policy Foundation's plan that has a 10-year phase out, which could effectively be accelerated if you put those bookends on it, like I have proposed. So the point here is that number one, property taxes are immoral, has to go, and number two, we have got an embarrassment of riches when it comes to plans to eliminate the property tax and replace that revenue. Because every single plan that I have seen, number one, reduces the overall tax burden on the Texas taxpayer, period, right? All of those plans reduce the tax burden on the Texas taxpayer and in fact produce more revenue than the property tax does. And finally, the thing that I love is all of them eliminate an entire layer of government bureaucracy that doesn't need to exist. So the bottom line is that we're going to see this happen. There is a movement that has grown to abolish the property tax, and I expect to see it. And I think that when people have heard year after year after year, people like Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick get up there and promise to reduce our property taxes and failing to deliver, I think people are finally coming around to the realization that the property tax system cannot be fixed. It has to be scrapped because we're still kicking people out of their homes, and it's got to stop. So absolutely 100% abolish the property tax. And I'm going to tell you, If I'm elected as your next lieutenant governor, the first phone call I'm going to make on the property tax issue is to Deborah Medina. And I may have to go down to the farm to visit her. You understand? but that conversation is going to happen. All right. So, hey, thank you for that question. And really, it was just kind of a comment, but I love it. All right, man. We're running. I got about 10 minutes. Let's see what we can get. Okay. Let's take this one. Oh, okay. How about a lighthearted one for you guys? El Barto wants to know on YouTube, what brand boots does Daniel wear? I wear black Red Wings. Well, he wears black Red Wings. Okay, so here's my funny story about boots. Okay, personal. We're gonna have a little personal conversation. I think the team would probably classify me as superstitious. I mean, I'm not superstitious, right? I'm not. I don't believe, it's not like walk under a ladder, don't step on a crack. It's not that kind of thing. But I have a kind of a certain thing. Like if you go look at my closet right now, you will see multiple of the same suit, and you will see multiples of the same tie. And I was actually told that was a detriment, right? I was told that would cost me votes as lieutenant governor. It's like, well, I've done this sort of thing since I was young because I heard that's what Albert Einstein did, so he didn't have to think about that sort of thing. But it's what I do, right? So there's if you guys see this tie, understand that you will see me wear a kind of a certain color tie on most occasions. I do have changes, other things, but sort of for certain things I have it. So I have these ties, and it's all sort of variations of the same thing, right? Well, boots are the same way. And I grew up wearing boots. My father, he was a boot guy, wore cowboy boots or work boots his entire life. So as a kid, he always got me. But one of the things that is sort of my deal is I never spent a ton of money on boots. Right? I never spent a ton of money on boots. So I I am so even though I got, I would go and I would buy like $100 something pair down at Cavender's of black boots, pointed toe black boots, right? And that's what I did. I block walked in them in 2012, right? I mean, that's just how often I wear boots. Well, at the beginning of last year, when the TEXIT bill got filed, I got a call from good friend, Texian, longtime compadre Chris Conrad, who is the owner of Republic Boots there in Houston. And Chris said, "Look, I want to do something special for you. You've poured your heart and soul into Texas independence, and I want to do something special for you." So he had a suit and a pair of boots custom made for me. And if you have ever seen their work, it is just absolutely phenomenal, and it's a gift that I can say that I truly appreciate. I've actually shown them on one of these things, but I'm going to tell you what Chris is doing at Republic Boot is he is keeping an art form alive, and it's not this industrial boot making kind of thing. They have these boot makers in there that just do phenomenal work. And if you look, there's pictures out there. I have been wearing those boots at every single stop on the campaign, every single one. They got a nice big kind of leather seal, a Texas seal on them, and I just love them. So, Chris, thank you. But that's the boots. That's if you see the boots, pictures of me in the boots, you will see those are from Republic Boot Company there in Houston, and go check those guys out. So yeah, thank you for your question. All right, so let's get down to it. Maybe I got time for one more question. Let's see. Yeah, I got about 6 minutes. All right. Nope, I think we got it. I think we got it. I don't have a lot of time. That's unfortunate. There's a couple good questions in the chute that I would love to get to, but I'm just pressed for time because if I dive off into those, we're going to be a hot minute, right? So let me go ahead and just start wrapping this bad boy up. First and foremost, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's raise your Texit Now mug or whatever it is. Have a sip of coffee before I have to get back to work. Many of you will be probably uh, headed off to bed to get ready for tomorrow. I still have plenty of work to do. Kara and I will be here burning the midnight oil, not just for the campaign, but for the TNM. Look, don't anyone forget that while the campaign has been a very all-consuming thing, the TNM has been ginning and growing and doing what we always do. And so we are just excited about what's happening about all of our Take Texas Back candidates, and I mean, we're just there's a lot to be grateful for, and a lot to be happy about, and a lot to be optimistic about, and it's going to be. I said it. I said it last night during my portion of the candidate forum. I've said it at just about every candidate event. I firmly believe that the next 100 years of Texas history are being written right now. Uh, it's happening before our eyes, and I love when these sort of neo Marxist nitwits figure out, oh, this is Daniel Miller, the Texit guy, and decide they want to talk trash on social media, or when this insane harpy, and I'm not even going to call her name, decided to just you know go all in on me on some ridiculous thing. Don't even know who it is, but it's all over the Texit thing. And it's like, it'll never happen. And it's like, you idiot. It's happening now. It's happening now. Look around you. When I heard Mark Davis, and we've got a clip that we're going to be releasing on the TNM website, but when I heard Mark Davis ridiculing a caller to his radio show. Mark Davis is a radio show host up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A caller called into his show from New Hampshire, talked about how New Hampshire is working on their independence legislation. It's going to come up for a full vote in front of their house, right? And he starts ridiculing them. He's like, oh, I run into one of those people occasionally in Albertsons. Well, Mark, everybody knows you probably shop at Whole Foods, right? Or maybe you get a Hot Pocket down at 7-Eleven. I don't know. But, when you hear things like that, it's insane because, I can walk into, and I played this clip last week, I can walk into any room here in Texas with political, non-political, whatever, and bring up Texit, and half the room is ready to go now. More than half in some instances. We went and spoke last week. I played that clip last week. Alamo Heights Republican Party on paper, Alamo Heights Republican women on paper should not have been a pro-Texit crowd, but that was the thing that got them the most excited. Claver went and spoke at an event with about 200 people on behalf of the campaign. And as he was talking about me, when he got to talking about Texit, the place exploded. Everywhere we go. So, the fact of the matter is that ultimately the decision on Texas is not up to me. I will advocate for it and for the benefits to Texas until my dying breath or until we get it. But it really is fundamentally a question that we have to put to the people of Texas. And so when people ridicule the issue and they say it'll never happen, or they throw out these ridiculous arguments, I'm like, it's happening right now. This you cannot stand in the course of history. It's like trying to stand in front of a train on the train tracks and stop it when it's going full speed, right? It's these people are in denial because ultimately Article 1, Section 2, the rights of the people will be respected. The fundamental right, the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish our government in such manner as we may think expedient. It is our fundamental right. As fundamental as our right to speak our mind, worship how we want to worship, our right to keep and bear arms, right? It's that fundamental. And the people of Texas are waking up to that fact. And, the political establishment and the the ridiculous progressive ostriches who stick their heads in the sand and deny that the people have that right and that the people are, in fact, moving to exercise that right, well, it's their loss because they have an opportunity to participate in the greatest exercise of self-determination and self-government that we've had here in 150 years. They have an opportunity to be a part of that conversation, but they choose not to be. They choose to show contempt and disdain for people just like you, just like me, people that are not like them. And ultimately, they sit on their pedestal and think that we're ultimately too stupid to govern ourselves. But we're going to show them, right? And so as we get ready to close out this first week of early voting, I can only encourage you with those words in Article 1, Section 2 that say that all political power is inherent in the people, but what good is that power if we don't exercise it? So it's time to go out there and show them how powerful we are. But it's also not enough for you to do just that one thing. You have to go empower your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, and remind them that that political power is theirs too. And in many instances, for those that have been asleep for a long time or just now waking up, you will have to lead, guide, and direct them. You will have to encourage them. You will have to cajole them. I will never ask you to beg them, but you may have to be strong with them and let them know what's at stake. Because if indeed the next 100 years of Texas history are being written right now, and we get the opportunity to be the authors of that history, what happens if we choose not to? Well, as I said at the tail end of my first book, Line in the Sand, we either make our own future or someone else will. And my friends, the last thing that we want is to have our future created by the people that are on the other side of the line from us. But they are perfectly willing to do it if we abrogate our responsibility. So, with that, my friends, I will encourage you, go vote, go to my website. You can check it out. Please make a contribution, dmcdonate.com, dmcdonate.com. And please, if you can, attend one of the campaign events, the very few that we have until Election Day. I mean, we've got a full schedule, but, it's going to start winding down. But head over to danielomiller.com/events. That's danielomiller.com/events and get plugged in. And at a minimum, I would love to see you at the watch party in Houston at Poor Behavior. I'm never going to get that. That name is never going to get old. Or at the T&M's Texas Independence Day celebration at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Details you can find there or on the T&M's website. And remember, if you'd like to become a member of the Texas Nationalist Movement, head over to tnm.me/join. That is tnm.me/join. Hey, and as your last act of defiance tonight, share this live stream. When it wraps up, be sure to share it and let everybody know that you support a person who supports them, whether they know it or not. And be sure to follow me across all social media at the Texian DM, at the Texian DM. And you know what? That's a wrap tonight, folks. Another coffee talk on the book, in the books, and I want to thank you for allowing me to come here and decompress together as we get ready to go out there and write our future, create our future. We're going to do this, so let's go win. So I'll leave you with the words that I leave you with every week. It was Sam Houston who said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.